All right, can you say your name?
My name is Eddie Tejeda.
So Eddie Tejeda, also my dad. So do you know what the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is?
Yes, I know what the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is. It is a tremendous amount of garbage that I think is mostly left by ships that have gone through the Pacific Ocean and dumped their waste. And I believe what I've heard of it is most of it is like plastics that are kind of all stuck together, and it's really huge. They like the size of an island.
All right. Well, so I don't know about an island, but so basically what it is two distinct collections of debris, marine debris, in the North Pacific subtropical gyre, which is like a swirling currents around the Pacific Ocean, and about 80% of it is actually from land-based sources, so not from like ships and stuff. Right, and it's about 7.7 million square miles. Right, so it's not like an island, but it's more like spread out. So like you would have 7.7 million square miles of just like scattered debris,
Right.
and they're kind of just all flowing in the same direction, right? But there's two different like areas where they kind of settle, and then kind of in the middle they kind of just like all collect there, and then so now you know what that is.
Apologize.
You did. So do you know how much of the plastic produced by the U.S. gets recycled?
I do not.
To your knowledge.
I do not.
So of the 46 million tons of plastic that the U.S. produces, only 5 to 6% gets recycled. So that's a large dip from about 9%, which was like a couple years ago. It was 9%. Right, and that's largely due to the insufficient infrastructure internationally for efficiently recycling different types of plastics, like because the U.S. used to import or to export their plastics to China to recycle them, but China said.
But then President Trump came in and kind of blew that out of the water.
Yeah, I don't know what happened
with his relationships.
All right, so most of the world's trash and even recyclables ends up in landfills instead of being recycled, right? And a lot of it ends up on the shores of and many bodies of water that are vital to Earth's biosphere, right? The animals and plants, like lakes, right? Rivers and reefs, and a lot of the open ocean, obviously. Lots of people, right, believe that in order to right these wrongs done by the plastic industries and the consumers that don't really care about recycling, they think that we need to focus on halting the production of all these detrimental wastes that are being put into the ocean at the source, like, so stop the production and manufacturing of it. So as a local politician, you are the city councilman here in Redlands. What do you believe that could be done, or what have you done personally on a government level to help stop the production of ocean polluting waste?
Well, sadly, I can tell you that I have done nothing as an elected official. Most of the priorities that are set forth at the local level are more problem solving. You know, what are we doing about homelessness, which is the biggest crisis we have in the community? That is not everyone's number one priority. What are we doing about that crisis? Unfortunately, pollution isn't at the top of the list. So my job is to make sure that I'm addressing the most important, the most critical concerns of my constituents. Having said that, there are things that I can do as a local politician, and that is to implement laws that have been implemented across the state and across the nation. We can create municipal ordinances, and I've actually considered creating ordinances whereby our local food vendors, our restaurants, and just vendors of any kind that used, for example, at this point, any types of plastics that they voluntarily do away with these types of, say, utensils or whatever, other straws and other items that are utilitarian in nature, for their business. The problem is that I can't mandate that, because the first thing businesses would do, obviously imply that I'm trying to cut into their profits, and small business owners would also say that things that are made of plastic are also less expensive, and allow for things to be products that they provide to the community or to their customers are more easily taken from their location to home, in a shopping bag or in a plastic container that probably does a better job of maintaining the condition of the whatever it is that they're selling.
Yeah.
Again, as a municipal elected official, one thing I can do is make an opt-in, create an opt-in sort of ordinance where we are, as a community, accepting and promoting businesses that opt in to accept the responsibility to do away with the use of plastics. And that's something that I'm going to be looking into. Unfortunately, big government runs very slowly. And like I said, one of the most important issues that we find today here at the local level is homelessness, and how we are going to provide safety in our community. And so, again, pollution isn't at the top of the list, but it still needs to be, as an elected official, I need to be mindful of everything that's happening. And if I place any political value on pollution, then my work should also reflect that I value doing something to decrease the amount of pollution there is in our community, in our state, and across our country.
Thank you for that. So over your lifetime, what change have you seen in the popular use of single-use plastics and pollution awareness and recycling efforts?
So growing up, actually many things started to be made of plastic, and it was actually very popular to have something made of plastic. Your outdoor furniture was made of plastic. As I said, plates, anything that you have domestically, furniture in the house, right, are made of plastic. And so it became popular to have things that were made of plastic, and plastic made things more accessible to the average person who really couldn't afford a very expensive, well-made, and maybe a product that doesn't have plastic. Things that used to be made out of metal turned into having containers that were made of plastic. Sodas used to come in glass bottles, right? And then they were in plastic bottles. So over my lifetime, the use of plastic has increased, I'd say 1,000%. But at the same time, they did talk about recycling, and they did implement a recycling program. The belief was, to the average person, was that if you did what you were supposed to do with that plastic container, that it was going to be recycled, right? Nobody was ever told that we didn't have the capacity to recycle everything that we were making that was plastic. That was never discussed. That was never shared with the public. So I think the general public would have, had they been given that information, probably made different choices. But because it was popular, that was what people were doing and what people were going to.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's all the questions I have. So.
Okay.